On today's show, the New York Knicks fail again to get a big win. OKC outlasts Minnesota. Cleveland beats Memphis. We talk about all 10 games on a Sunday NBA slate right here on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Danny Cunningham, host of Locked On Cavs, Hugh Swipa, host of Locked On Nuggets, and thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, on YouTube as well. Hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest content from the Locked On NBA channel. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We had a 10-game NBA Sunday slate. It's good that football's over because NBA finally taking center stage on Sunday. We had 4 nationally televised games, and we're going to start this one, Swipe Up, in Boston, where the Celtics took down the Knicks. The Knicks failed once again to get a big win. This is 2 games in a row. They've played the 2 top teams in the East. They've gotten crushed in both games. Before we get into our thoughts, let's hear from the host of Locked On Celtics, John Corrales.
Boston Celtics made it a little interesting in the third quarter, letting up after a 27-point lead. The Knicks cut it down to single digits, but they dominated the fourth quarter. Jason Tatum was an assist shy of another triple-double. He is just on a passing tear. He's seeing the floor better than ever. The Celtics built up a huge lead, got whatever they wanted. That third quarter run by the Knicks, impressive. Jalen Brunson was hitting a bunch of shots, but the Celtics did let up. The Celtics kind of let go of the rope a little bit. It's going to be tough for the Knicks to beat the allegations here of not being able to beat good teams. The Celtics, when they were putting in maximum effort, dominated this game in every facet. They were defending as well as they have this season. They were getting onto the boards. They were doing everything. Jaylen Brown with 24 points. And this was a big fourth quarter from Derek White to kind of put the game away. Just a dominant Celtics run, even with a little bit of a let-up. This is exactly what you expect to see from the Celtics. They look very much like their championship selves.
Well, John said it about the Knicks not being able to beat the allegations, and they are now 0-7 against the 3 teams with the best record in basketball. 0-2 against the Thunder, 0-2 against the Cavs, 0-3 against Boston. Is it over for the Knicks? Like, should we just stop having postseason expectations for this team?
I mean, they're 2-0 versus Denver, so I mean, I feel like that's very selective, the top 3 teams or whatever. But I think that they're a really good team. I think they have a really nice floor, but the issue is they just don't have, for whatever reason, the defensive execution that you need to be able to play at a high level to beat some of these teams. And Boston's just a really good team. They take advantage of mismatches. They play hard. They play on a string. And today, they just got the looks that they wanted to get, and then once they got in rhythm, they're hitting contested threes over the Knicks player. Again, y'all, Boston had a 27-point lead at one point in time in this game, had gone an 11-0 run at one point in time in this game as well. They just feel comfortable versus the Knicks, and I think that's the biggest thing about Boston. If you let them feel comfortable, then we're going to own you. You know, we're absolutely going to take advantage of every single weakness that you have, and I think for the Knicks, they just do not have the defensive pieces, I think very similar to some other teams in the league, to when you don't play your best on the other end and you're not committing maximum effort, then you're going to have moments where you give up really, really bad droughts on the defensive end. And for a lot of teams, their offense powers their defense. And I think the Knicks are one of those teams as well, that if their offense is flowing, they're going to show more effort on the defensive end. But when their offense isn't there and they get a little bit spotty on that end, that's going to affect the chemistry and what they're doing on the defensive end at the same time. So, yeah, they're not an elite team by any means. I don't think they're one of the teams that I would select to win a title this year. I think that's a very reserved class for about maybe 4 or 5 teams. But I do think the Knicks can still give people trouble in a playoff series once they're fully healthy.
So the thing that disappointed me most about New York in this game is the way they started it. So Boston won the first quarter 38-19. And my thinking before this game was, okay, I want to see how the Knicks respond, because the last game they played in Cleveland Friday, they lost by, I think it was 35 points was the final score differential. They trailed by as many as 42 points in that game. Like, they just absolutely got their doors blown off. And then to see them respond to that by getting crushed in the first quarter again, that just made it to me as like, okay, I can't take you seriously as a finals contender. This is a team that I think its ceiling, as is right now, is the second round of the playoffs, which, despite everything they did in this offseason, trading for Karl-Anthony Towns, trading for Bridges, giving up 5 first-round picks for him, and I look at their ceiling as the same thing it's been the last 2 years, where, they should win a first-round series, but after that, I just don't know how they get over that hump.
Yeah, but everything is matchups, right? Like, if they somehow, face Detroit and then face the Pacers in the second round, probably won't happen. Yeah, then I think that
they're going to see Boston in the second round. That's what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. So in that instance, I think that's a tough matchup. But Boston also might be the best team in the league, on the other side of OKC, at least, who we'll get to a little bit later. I don't think there's a lot of shame in that. Like, it took Boston years. That's one of the things people forget. Like, it took OKC years to get to this point. It took Boston years to get to this point. What is this? This is year 3 of Jalen Brunson in New York. Like, it takes time. This is Karl's first year in New York. This is Mikhail's first year in New York with the rest of the squad. Yeah, you know what? If they're not fully ready this year to go win a title, then you know what? They can go take care of their business. They can hopefully get everybody back together next year. But I think for tonight, their execution wasn't what it needed to be able to defend at a high enough level. And again, if you give up an 11-0 run over the course of a game to a Boston Celtics team, or you're giving them too many comfortable looks where they feel like they're taking advantage of just empty space, and on top of that, they feel like they have the defenders to mess with you on the other end, you're just going to play yourself right into their hands. And that's just a dangerous team with a dangerous group of players that you're facing, that you're going to have to be able to bring your best effort on a night in, night out basis to beat that Boston Celtics team.
Up next, the Golden State Warriors. They beat the Dallas Mavericks 126-102. Let's head on over to Locked On Mavericks host Nick Ings.
Have been without Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, Dwight Powell, and even Caleb Martin since the trade. They've been without all of their bigs. But one of the biggest problems Mavericks have had is they can't score at times. They go multiple stretches where they just can't get any buckets at all. And that happened in this first quarter against the Golden State Warriors. The Mavs lose this game. They get out to a 9-4 lead to start the game, looking like the Mavs are going to be all right in this one. The Mavs have beat the Warriors before, even with Jimmy Butler. They beat them without PJ Washington, without Dante Exum last time. Those guys return and they start for the Mavericks. But then the Warriors just rattle off a 16-0 run, and the Mavericks only score 18 points in the first quarter, a season low for them. Absolutely brutal. And the Warriors basically never looked back. The Mavericks fought back a couple times in this game, but only cut it to like 13 a few times in the second quarter. An absolutely brutal one. Mavericks fans have been asking to play Lively and Gafford together at some points, and they've never gotten that. But they did get Kyler Kelly and Moses Brown together, so I guess they got something.
So Nick's right. The Mavericks can't score. They didn't have anybody score over 17 points in this game. And then on the flip side, Golden State, I believe, 6-1 since Jimmy Butler made his team debut. I don't know that there's just much to take away from watching the Mavericks right now. That this is the team that maybe I'm most interested in learning more about the rest of the season, because I need to see what Anthony Davis actually looks like on that roster.
Yeah, 100%. I do think that they're a team that, again, one of those teams are fully formed. They could make a push to win the West, but until we have the actual idealized version of that roster, I really don't have any expectation for them right now. But on the Warriors side, I love how Jimmy Butler has fit with this Golden State team. I think that he's doing a lot of things at a really high level. He's a great connected defender. He's a really good individual defender as well, but he's one of those other players that kind of fall in the Draymond archetype where, hey, we're just going to do a lot of things at a very high level on that end. And then he picks his spots like a veteran all-star, all-NBA player would on the offensive end, whether it's as a jump shooter, whether it's as a driver, or whether it's creating contact to get to the free throw line. Again, only 18 points for Jimmy Butler. Only 9 shots, but 8 of 8 from the free throw line. This is the first time they've had a true high-level free throw maker and free throw shot creator in the Warriors regime, really outside of Kevin Durant, especially at that point. But a plus 28 for Jimmy Butler today, that just goes to show you that whatever they asked him to buy into, he's buying into, and he looks really good right now.
Right. He looks like a refreshed player. He looks like such a different person than the guy that was wearing a Miami Heat uniform for however many games he played with the Heat earlier this year. Like, it is, I don't know that there's been a more drastic change to any player throughout this year than what Jimmy Butler has gone through in his trade from Miami to Golden State. Last game I want to touch on quickly in segment number 3, Orlando beat Washington 110-90 earlier today. The Magic, they're trying to find their way up out of the play-in. Let's hear from Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic. Here at the Kia Center, the Orlando Magic defeat the Washington Wizards 110-90. And in a lot of ways, this game is exactly what the doctor ordered. The Magic needed a game against a weaker opponent where they could just kind of exert their dominance, exert their will, and just know that they can make some mistakes and still come out on top. The Magic did not make very many mistakes in this game. They were excellent defensively throughout the game, maybe a little too much fouling in a disjointed first half. But Orlando overcame, once again, the frustrations of their offense. They really struggled to make shots. They struggled to find that kind of flow offensively throughout the first half. They came out in the second half on a 19-4 run, took the lead, did not give it up, and blew this game wide open. It has been a while since the Magic have had a game quite like that, where everything clicked on all cylinders, or enough clicked on all cylinders for them to win comfortably and let the bench guys get some run at the end of the game. At the end of the day, a win over the Wizards counts as a win. It doesn't matter how you do it. You don't need the style points, but the Magic got the style points they needed. A much-needed breath of fresh air for this team.
Orlando hasn't been healthy for most of the year. They haven't had their top 3 guys available for more than, I think, 6 games this year with Jalen Suggs, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Are you buying that they have enough time to turn this around and get right for maybe to climb out of the play-in?
Sure. The Eastern Conference is very bungled up, so why not? But again, like, their expectation should just be, how do we get healthy and put our best foot forward in a play-in and playoff setting and see if we can take another step in our development. That's it.
We'll see if they can do that. There was a big game late Sunday night as Oklahoma City beat Minnesota. We'll dive into that one next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's show brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Maybe after you stay up late watching a 50-point game, maybe it's on a West Coast game and you're on the East Coast and you want to stay up late watching, so you don't have enough time to get lunch ready for work tomorrow. Well, DoorDash, Dash Pass, the way to go. Make sure you just get your lunch delivered right to work, and you can get up to $10 off, 50% off that order. What you need to do, sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Again, just use promo code NBA50, that is NBA50, from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Thank you again for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the show. So, Minnesota had a lead in the fourth quarter. Couldn't quite close the door on OKC. The Thunder were able to storm back. Let's hear more from Locked On Thunder host Rylan Stiles.
City Thunder get another win in probable fashion. I mean, they grew a 19-point lead and then blew it, and this game changed in the fourth quarter when SGA stepped onto the floor. He was incredible. He had complete control of the offense. He was a bucket getter as always, but defensively, I mean, multiple blocks in the fourth quarter, getting stops in his own right as a dominant two-way player. The team goes as Shai goes, and all they have to do is make sure that they float along the way and don't sink in order to get wins, and that's what they did tonight. Aaron Wiggins was huge. Alex Caruso was huge off the bench. And the Thunder continue to show you how deep of a roster that they have. And so getting wins like this is big time to get tested in a way like this that felt like a playoff game for a team that's done more blowing out than playing competitive games. They needed games in this fashion too. And now these two teams run it back on Monday in a back-to-back in Oklahoma City. And so it's going to be a battle of who's the more guttier team to go through that adversity and get a win tomorrow. But for tonight, it was all about SGA and all about this deep Thunder roster.
Shai was so good in this one. Like it just felt like it did feel for a moment like, wow, Minnesota's really going to steal this. Gilgeous-Alexander Walker hit a couple of big threes in the fourth quarter that put the Wolves up. And then once Shai got back on the floor, like it was the game totally changed.
Yeah, I mean, Shai had 12 in the fourth quarter alone. He was 2 of 5 from the field, but the biggest thing is the 4 assists that he had because of the way they were collapsing in on him. It was really, honestly, J-Dub was a beneficiary. Aaron Wiggins was a beneficiary of that. I mean, and then on top of that, Lou Dort, but also Alex Caruso, man. Like Alex Caruso in that quarter alone, in the fourth quarter, was 3 of 4 from 3, and they were backbreakers. When the Minnesota, when their defense had done everything possible, okay, we got SGA in front of us, 2-point game, 3-point game, 1-point lead for us. SGA drive. All right, he's in front of us. We walled him. Alex Caruso. And at that point, it's like, okay, like there's you've done everything your defense is committing to do, and you still didn't win that possession. So, I mean, again, SGA is just, he's using his gravity so well on the offensive end that when he does get a matchup where he blows by or he gets to a certain spot, what he doesn't do, he doesn't force himself into bad looks. He forces himself into really high quality shots, or he forces the ball where it needs to go on the court, and his teammates took advantage of it today. So what also makes the OKC Thunder so tantalizing is like, you forget they have Alex Caruso on the roster. Right. You know, you forget they got Case and Wallace on the roster. You forget that J-Dub is there. You forget that, like, okay, there's Chet and there's Hart, but there's 4 other defenders on that roster that are legitimately great to elite that you have to deal with this year. And then you got Lou Dort, who is just absolutely hounding Anthony Edwards on every single possession and is giving up screens very infrequently. So all the way around, man, it's just a great game for them. And again, also to make it clear, no Randall, no Rudy Gobert, obviously made a really big difference in this game for the Wolves. But yeah, who you said who else?
No Dante DiVincenzo too.
Yeah, no Dante DiVincenzo. I actually think if I'm a Wolf, like a player, I feel like I can beat that team. We're fully healthy. And I actually think that's going to be sneaky. They just did. But I think that's going to be a sneaky series this year if we get a chance to see both those teams play together.
There could be some really tough matchups, and I don't know that it's going to be the Wolves, and we have no idea, obviously, as we record this on February 24th, we have no idea what the final playoff bracket's going to look like, but there could be, not saying that I would pick a team in the 8th seed to beat the Thunder, because I wouldn't, but there could be some sneaky tough matchups in that 1-8 matchup there for OKC. Don't sleep on that as potentially happening. So moving back over to the Eastern Conference, or I guess a matchup between the two conferences, the Pacers beat the Clippers 129-111 on Sunday. Kawhi Leonard did not play. James Harden had 31 points for the Clippers in a loss. Tyrese Halliburton had 29 points for a win in the Pacers. Indiana's been playing good basketball lately. They've won a few in a row. They're trying to hold off Milwaukee. I think that race between 4 and 5 to see who's going to get home court between them, Milwaukee, maybe even Detroit sneaking up there is one of the more interesting ones to watch in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the Pacers, they're just a half a game up on the Bucks and just 2 games ahead on the 31-26 Detroit Pistons, by the way.
We will talk about coming up.
And the Pacers are, again, I think to your point, a lot of people probably are not like Pacer fans, so they don't get a chance to like watch them a lot, so you can see just how good they've been. But y'all, like the Pacers, they are 10-5 in their last 15 games, and they have been performing like one of the better teams in the NBA. Just in the last 15 games, they're 11th in overall net rating. Their defense hasn't been quite as spectacular, but their offense has been good. They got a lot of really good players, and I actually think they're going to end up being really good come playoff time as well. So the Pacers are good, and that's going to be a hard team for anybody to beat, and I think they showed that again today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what a matchup between them and potentially the Milwaukee Bucks, the team that played in the playoffs last year. Obviously, that Bucks team did not have Giannis Antetokounmpo, but it'll be interesting to see what that postseason matchup looks like for the second straight year. And then the other game I want to talk about in this segment today is the game between the New Orleans Pelicans and the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, the Spurs no longer have Victor Wembanyama, ruled out for the year. The Pelicans, they do have Zion Williamson. So let's go over to Jake Madison, Locked On Pelicans, for more.
A big second half propels the Pelicans to a 114-96 win over the San Antonio Spurs. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. From down 17 in the second half to an 18-point victory, New Orleans got it done. Zion Williamson reminding you he's still pretty good on a minutes restriction, but 22 points in kind of limited action, making it look easy in the second half. But truthfully, the biggest story for New Orleans was the big men getting it done. They've struggled with rebounding, finding the right front court partner for Zion Williamson all season long. But in this one, you had 35 points combined for Kelly Olynyk and Carlo Makovich. Olynyk with 14 rebounds as well, a double-double in his first home game here in New Orleans. Maybe that's kind of the magic New Orleans needs to show a little bit of a spark in the second half, but they're still trying to lose games. But it's fun to win on occasion. They got this win over the San Antonio Spurs.
It is fun to win on occasion. Maybe a loss would have been better for the Pelicans in terms of the lottery gods, but when you out-rebound a team by 23 rebounds the way they did on Sunday afternoon, you're going to win more often than you're going to lose that game.
Yeah, and I think, again, I'm curious to see how the Pelicans continue to develop as the season goes on. I like the Kelly Olynyk. They have players on their roster from Herb Jones to Kelly Olynyk to Trey Murphy and Bruce Brown. I think a lot of teams are going to be calling them this summer to see, hey, what can we get, if at all, anything, even though they've already said that Herb Jones and Trey Murphy are off the market. I think they are great development pieces to have for your team with Zion, should he continue to get healthier and be able to play more into the future. I like their foundation, man. I really like what they're building, and I really respect Willie Green. I think Willie's done a terrific job with some really adverse circumstances for the last 3 years. And I think today, you know what? The Spurs are also very discombobulated. They're missing, obviously, their best player, who I thought was going to be a first-team All-NBA player this year. So this is a game that they just honestly had more talent than the other team as well.
Right, and to that point, Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, those three combined to go 5 of 35 from the floor in this game. Just absolutely terrible offense from that triumvirate in San Antonio. Like, when your best players, and obviously Wemby's out for the year, and hope he's doing well, but when your best available players have that type of shooting performance, you're never going to win. I don't care who you're playing. Like, there's that is not a recipe for victory for any team when your three best players have that.
Going forward, you'd rather have Trey Murphy or De'Aaron Fox?
Ooh, I'm a big Trey Murphy fan. I would like to see what he would look like with a healthy, consistent surrounding cast with him. Like, I feel like I don't have enough information on him, not because I don't know how good he is. Like, I think he's really, really good, but I don't know. I haven't seen, obviously, Brandon Ingram not there anymore, but Brandon Ingram couldn't stay healthy. Zion Williamson hasn't been able to stay on the floor. Like, I don't know enough about what his, I guess, situation looks like to answer that. How do you feel on that?
It's tough, man. I mean, a guaranteed two-way wing with some real offensive pop versus a really good kind of guard, I would say a second tier point guard engine, maybe a third tier point guard engine. Second tier could be like, Steph and all them are. Yeah, he's probably third tier, actually legit third tier. I don't think he's that far away from Jamal Murray. So I probably, honestly, going forward for a ring, I probably would want Trey Murphy if I was building a championship team.
I mean, having two-way wings matters a lot in this league. We've seen that time and time again. We've got 4 more games to get to, including the Milwaukee Bucks coming back against Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers beating the Memphis Grizzlies in Cleveland. We'll get to that next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. FanDuel's live betting feature keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether you're backing your team for a late game rally, like, I don't know, Milwaukee on Sunday, or you're picking a player to hit a clutch 3 like SGA did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. You never feel like you miss your chance. Plus, The app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to join today. Again, FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Again, $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. Make sure you're also subscribed to whatever Locked On newsletter for your favorite team. All 30 NBA teams have newsletters. Make sure you go subscribe to your favorite one. Sign up today at LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Memphis Grizzlies 129-123 in Cleveland. Darius Garland did not play for the Cavs in this one. John Morant was kind of had a quiet 21-10. Didn't feel like he was necessarily aggressive enough, but let's head on over to Joe Molinax of Locked On Grizzlies to get his take.
Difficult and disappointing loss for the Memphis Grizzlies against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Sunday evening, but sometimes you run into a team that just plays a little bit better than you do. I'm Joe Molinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and that doesn't excuse the rebounding differential, slow starts, questionable rotation choices. There's plenty of ways that Memphis can continue to improve, but especially in the second half, the way that the team competed, the diving for loose balls, the physicality, the aggression, that looked like a playoff game for the Grizzlies and the Cavaliers. Both teams wanted it badly. Cleveland was the better team on this night. That does not mean that the sky is falling for the Grizzlies, who are still one of the best teams in the league. If Memphis sees them in a similar environment in May or June, that means they've made the NBA Finals. There's a long way to go to get there, but the game was an important step forward in terms of competitiveness tonight.
I will say, and I don't want to make outlandish, bold predictions, but I would be very, very surprised if these two teams match up in June in the NBA Finals. After watching Memphis up close, and obviously, you can watch them on TV all the time, League Pass. Like, this isn't as if the first time I've seen Memphis, but watching them up close in Cleveland in person tonight for me, I come away from them feeling as if they're one player short.
Yeah. They're definitely not making out the West. I feel pretty confident about that, but that's no slight. I think they're just not there yet. Like, they're not beating OKC in a series. I think they actually would lose to a few teams in the West this year, but it's no takeaway. But again, in this game, Ja Morant is not having the year that he had 2 years ago when he was all NBA Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson Jr. is having an incredible season this year, but the same thing that kind of folded them back then is going to be the same thing that kind of folds them right now. They do not have high-end shot making on their team. Their lead guard is not a high-end shot maker. And then also, they're just a very interestingly built team. They're a good rebounding team, but in terms of just like, I think some of the stuff that matters, like, they don't feel like it. And tonight they got blitzed on the boards. I think 57 to 37 or whatever the number was.
Yeah, the Cavs had 22 offensive rebounds in this game, man.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, they just don't have – they're not there yet, but that's completely fine. I think that they could easily be not easily. There's the likelihood they finish as a 2 seed this year. And if that's the case, again, after last year and then coming back and then having a 2 seed level season, winning 50-plus games, that's a huge accomplishment. And they're taking another step forward in their development. So I think that they are showing a lot of grit and toughness. And I think they got 2 players in Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, G.G. Jackson as well in the second year, that are all going to help them in the long term as they continue to develop as well.
Right. Donovan Mitchell had 33 for the Cavs. Evan Mobley had 25. Ty Jerome had 26 off the bench. And to your point about Memphis, they're currently tied with Denver for the second best record in the Western Conference. I don't know the tiebreaker situation on that. I'm sure you know that better than me, considering you host Locked On Nuggets, tied at 1-1. So there are still games to be played to decide that. But that'll be an interesting race to watch because, as we've talked about basically every Sunday, the matchups I think are going to decide a lot out West. Like, there are some teams that you might not think of as better as other teams, but just matchups it's kind of the name of the game when you get to that time of year when the teams are so closely together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Up next, the Detroit Pistons kept winning. They got their 6th straight win. They beat the Atlanta Hawks 148-143. Let's head on over to Koo at Locked On Pistons.
6 straight games. 6 straight games for the first time since 2015 when Brandon Jennings hit that game winner. And you guys know it, the build the bleeping wall from Stan Van Gundy. Host of Locked On Pistons podcast, Koo Keel here. This was one of the most impressive wins of the Detroit Pistons season, right next to the game against the Sixers on national TV without Cade Cunningham. In this game, the Pistons were in control majority of the game. All the way up until a minute and a half left in the game, the Hawks come storming back, take the lead by 1. Earlier in the year, any other year, the Pistons lose this game, they falter. But this team has developed. They're a good team, an actual good team now. They answer the call, fight back, get the lead back, and hold on to it. Fantastic game from Cade Cunningham. He's different. He's one of the ones. We're about to have some rare conversations soon about Cade Cunningham. We're about to go past all NBA teams soon. That's how great Cade has been. 38 points, 29 in the first half, 29, 10, and 5 in the first half. Who else is doing that out there? Pistons 6 in a row. Can one of the teams in front of the Pistons please lose soon? Please?
I just want to say, before, and I might have an idea of where you're going to go with this after seeing your facial reaction to the end of what Koo had to say. I'm very happy for Koo, and I'm very happy for the Pistons fans. This has been a decade, basically, since they've had a 6-game winning streak. And I don't know that there are any other NBA teams that can say that, but it's impressive that they've won 6 straight games. I'm excited to see what they look like in the postseason.
Yeah, as a guy who was arguing Cade Cunningham like somehow over Alperen Şengün and Scotty Barnes and them as of last year, I am just feeling so vindicated. Cade Cunningham is a special player, special talent. I remember arguing with people about Cade last year, and they were just like, he's not a winning player. He has a terrible shot profile. I remember they were putting his efficiency numbers up and saying, look, he's shooting below league average and this and that. I'm like, have you watched Detroit games? Do you see what's around him? Oh, then all of a sudden, Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, J.D. Bickerstaff gets there. They're like putting a real offense in. They have a good center now, no longer these 2 big lineup they were playing. Oh, there's a lot of players who know how to play basketball with him. Look at that. Cade Cunningham having an all-NBA level year. So I'm very happy for Detroit. Detroit has a long legacy of terrific basketball. It's about time for Detroit to get back to the top of the NBA like they used to be in the 2000s and in the 1980s.
I think that they're on their way there. I think Cade Cunningham is special and destined for some really great things.
Just imagine if Cade Cunningham, if Cleveland had a player like Cade Cunningham, bro. I'm just trying to tell you that right now. Just imagine. I mean, it'd be great, man. Crazy.
I think Cleveland's doing all right with where they're at right now. Milwaukee Bucks beat the Miami Heat 120-113. Bucks came back in the fourth quarter. They crushed Miami in that fourth quarter, but Tyler Herro had 40 for the Heat. Giannis Antetokounmpo still on a bit of a minutes restriction. He did play 32 minutes this one, had 23 points. Damian Lillard had 28 points in 38 minutes. And the Bucks keep winning since making the trade for Kyle Kuzma. But I come away just not super impressed with what I've seen from them so far because of the competition they've played.
Yeah, I understand that. But at the end of the day, obviously you just got to win and beat who's in front of you. I have had a Tyler Herro All-NBA agenda now that's been going for about a month now. So I think he's making his case this year. I think you give all of the 65-game minimum rule, the stuff, all this in the equation. There's a very real world where Tyler Herro ends up 3rd-team All-NBA this year. And I think he's going to be deserving of that spot. He has been a baller this season, one of the best scoring guards in the league. And tonight put on an absolute show for all the people in Milwaukee to see. So great game from Tyler Herro. A shout out to the Miami Heat. They fought valiantly today, but the Bucks, I think, again, they're probably a 2nd-tier team in the Eastern Conference, but their team still, I think, can have the best player in every single series that he plays in. And Damian Lillard could be the 3rd or 2nd best player in every series they play in. That by itself is going to give them a true puncher's chance.
Right. I think they have a puncher's chance. I just don't know that it's anything more than that. And then the last game of the night, the Toronto Raptors won 127-109 over the unhappiest team in basketball, the Phoenix Suns. Let's head on over to Sean Woodley with Locked On Raptors for more.
Imagine being concerned about the tank when the dudes are going to play like that. Sean Woodley here. Quick thoughts on the Toronto Raptors taking down the Phoenix Suns emphatically 127-109, powered by a ridiculous final few minutes where RJ Barrett hit 3 consecutive threes. Emmanuel quickly hit a couple as well. And the Raptors just closed things down and ran away with it down the stretch after the Suns had pulled it to within 5. This was a really nice win for a young Raptors team that is still going to lose plenty of games and still is going to figure in the top 6, 7, or 8 of the draft lottery odds. But you can't sweat every single result. And when the team is going to play like this, and the guys who matter are going to play like this, Emmanuel quickly, chief among them, 23 points, 8 assists for him, 5 of 7 from downtown. We've been waiting all season long for this version of Emmanuel quickly. He's dealt with injury and uneven play. To see a game like that from him against the Suns, who, aren't great, but are still a real opponent, it's wonderful to see. It only means good things for next year. And whether the pick is 5th or 7th or 8th or 9th, that doesn't really matter considering what else is going on here. Lottery luck, hey, if you get it, great. But you can't hinge every single bit of your franchise on it. If your dudes are going to play as well as the Raptors did tonight, you just got to let them do it and live with the results.
Good for Sean. Good for the Raptors. The real story, Phoenix 2-8 in their last 10. They are a game and a half back of Sacramento for 10th. The Suns are cooked.
Yeah, I said, well, I don't even remember. It was way before it got popular. They're not making a play in this year. I think they're done.
Yeah, I think you said it with me like a month ago, and you're right. They're not.
Their culture's over, dude. They're not happy. They look unhappy. They look like they don't want to be here. Kevin Durant's going to get traded this summer. They're going to try to trade Bradley Beal. If Devin Booker asks out, they're going to trade him. They look miserable, and they just don't look like a team that believes it's worth anything. Like, they literally look like a team that's just waiting for the season to be over.
That is exactly it. And unfortunately, this show is now over. But thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Check us out on YouTube. If you're watching the show, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest on every